Live from a basement in Dubuque, Iowa.
I'll bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day.
30 minutes from the Field of Dreams and 4 hours from the closest professional sports team.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
On the banks of the Mississippi River.
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
It's the Degenerate Sports Betting Show with Matthew Freedman.
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
And now your host, Matthew Freedman.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Freeman, Matt F. the Oracle. Welcome to the Degenerate Sports Betting Show, brought to you by Best TV and sponsored by the FTN Network, where you can get all the season-long and daily fantasy and sports betting content your degenerate heart desires, including my fantasy football write-ups and all my NFL size totals and player props. Use the highly original promo code Freedman for 20% off your FTN subscription. That is Freedman for 20% off at FTN. Thanks for checking out the show. Subscribe to the Best TV channel on YouTube and rate, review, and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. All right, it is Thursday afternoon. Thursday night football is on the horizon. In this episode, we're breaking down tonight's game. I'm going to highlight my favorite player prop for Thursday night football. Then we're going to run through my 3 favorite bets for this weekend's NFL slate. Let's get into it. Producer Thomas Viola, sidekick on the controls, connoisseur of pasta, titan of tomato sauce, Billy Joel junkie, and long-suffering Jets fan. Tom, I'm just going to say, I am in a horrible mood. How are you doing?
Good to know. I'm doing a little bit better than that. Been up early, was doing the golf show at 7 a.m. So surprisingly good mood for me, considering the early wake up.
Yeah, I like it. Part of why I'm in a bad mood is because, so yesterday I woke up super early because my dog just jumped out of bed and that's it. That's when the day starts. And I got a ton done in the morning. Like, it was maybe the most productive day I've had in the football season, just in terms of like writing, getting stuff done really early. And so there was a chance that last night, if everything sort of aligned, I would be able to finish my my fantasy breakdown. And like finishing it on Wednesday night, like that is fantastic, because some days it's not done, or some weeks it's not done until Friday. But then I had to go to a holiday party and like that just, so it's like, I feel like, and then the holiday party pushes everything back in terms of the evening. And so I didn't get to wake up as early today. And so it's just like, it snowballs. And so anyway, that's where we are. And so like, I'm still ahead of schedule on the breakdown, but I'm in a bad mood because I'm not going to be able to crush the schedule of submitting that piece the way I had wanted to.
I will say, some perspective, it could be worse. You could be our friend David Jones right now, who is recovering from kidney stone surgery.
Yes, it could be worse. And I'll just say my bad moods tend to be pretty high, like relatively speaking. It's not, what I'm saying. Anyway, let's move along to Thursday night football.
That is right. Let's move on into the game, because we got Pittsburgh taking on Minnesota in what should actually be a fairly interesting game. But the Vikings opened -4. They are now sitting at -3, and the total was 45.5. It's now around 44. I mean, Pittsburgh's 5-7 against the spread. Minnesota 6-6, and I'm guessing the line's moved since I adjusted this last night.
Yeah, it's around 3.5. I'm just gonna say, like, I don't know if this is an interesting game. I think it'll be a close game. I could see it being a disgusting game. Like, these are two kind of disgusting franchises. You know what I mean?
One more so disgusting than the other as of late, I think. Pittsburgh, long history of being good, now feeling very disgusting. The Vikings, I think they have more bad luck than anyone, maybe except the Lions, but probably more so than the Lions this season. They are such a better team than their record would indicate. Like, this team should not be where they are. They should be firmly in a playoff spot right now. The way Kirk Cousins has been playing this season, he's playing the best ball of his career right now. They have all of the pieces. They have, even when Dalvin Cook gets hurt, you've got Alexander Madison. You can't ask for any more for this team, and yet they just have managed to bottle it every step of the way.
They play ugly games.
Yeah.
And when you play ugly games, you're not going to be able to win all of them. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Like, in the big picture, with what they have, this feels like a playoff team. Not a great playoff team, but a team that should sort of comfortably get one of the wild card spots. And I don't think that's going to happen. They just lost to the worst team in the league. Now, maybe you don't want to say the Lions are the worst team in the league. Fine. A bottom 3 team without question. They just lost to that team. No excuse for losing in that situation. I just think this is going to be a disgusting game. I'll be honest, I might not watch it. Like there's a good chance I'm not watching this game. I'll bet on it. I will bet on it, but I don't know if I want to watch it.
If I could take any bet in this game, I would take under 3 hours of game time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I could
see it.
If I think this is going to be a quick game, because you look at both of these teams, both of their glaring weaknesses run defense, and both of these offenses love to pound the rock. This is going to be Alexander Madison versus Najee Harris.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it. Although there are reports that Dalvin Cook might play, so like he's legitimately 50-50 questionable, but that doesn't change the calculus any. It just means that it's probably some combination of Madison and Cook doing the running instead of just Alexander Madison. Unfortunate for all of the Alexander Madison managers out there, because this was going to be
the worst possible outcome.
Yes.
Like I have Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, and I am just going to get half of the production no matter who I play now.
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to be if Madison suits up. If Cook suits up, I don't think he's going to be the clean number one. I think it will still be a committee while they kind of ease it back in. I hope he doesn't play.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I hope he doesn't play.
It just makes the tea leaves easier to read.
Yeah. Let's talk about the spread here. I mean, obviously, I'm on the Steelers. I always bet them as underdogs. And if this is a run festival where it's just Alexander Madison or Dalvin Cook for one side, Najee Harris on the other side, I think that caters to a game that is relatively close. And if I can have the Steelers at 3.5, I don't think I'd bet them at 3, but they're 3.5 across the market now at most books. Obviously, use our odds page at FTN Bets to find the book that offers the most value, but they're 3.5 generally across the market. If you can bet them at 3.5, I think there's significant value there. With Mike Tomlin, we've talked about this before. As an underdog, he's 45-23-3 against the spread for his career. He is just a guy who sort of like embodies the ethos of someone who would thrive in the underdog spot. And on the money line, I think there might be some value here because, I mean, is it impossible to imagine the Vikings losing this game? Tomlin as an underdog is 35-31 on the money line for a profit of 22.6 units. I think if you wanted to take the money line here, there would be cause to do so. And this season in particular, if we're looking in the macro sense across the league, road underdogs, 67-43-1 against the spread, 47-63-1 on the money line for 21.5 units of profit. Kirk Cousins in prime time. That might be enough. Kirk Cousins in prime time, 9-16 against the spread. No Adam Thielen, questionable Dalvin Cook. In a worst case scenario, Dalvin Cook does play and is inefficient for this team, and they're just wasting opportunities by giving them to a player who's not his full self. The Steelers have TJ Watt back. He's doing, TJ Watt type of things. Chase Claypool practiced in full on Tuesday. So even though he's dealing with that toe injury, he should be basically as healthy as any player can be at this point in the season. The Steelers like to run the ball. The Vikings are number 32 in defensive rush EPA per play. I have to take the Steelers in this spot.
That Kirk Cousins primetime narrative just looms so large every single game. Big Ben has not looked like he has a total salted noodle arm lately. He's looking more like a quarterback on a retirement tour and then a quarterback who should have retired 3 years ago.
Are there other kinds of noodles other than salted noodles?
I mean, yeah, there's unsalted noodles. Before you put the salt on them, you should always be salting your noodles. That is important.
I'm not aware of this. I'll be honest.
When you boil the water and you put the noodles in, just throw a little salt in there.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is This is what I get from talking to the connoisseur of pasta and titan of tomato sauce.
Exactly. I have a reputation to uphold here.
Exactly. You are your mother's son, right?
Completely.
We do know this. The total. I have nothing to say about the total.
It is that dead man's land. It's that spot where you're just like, well, if it's a low scoring game, it goes under. If it's a high scoring game, it goes over. But I'm not quite sure what score gets us there.
Yeah. 43.5, 44 across the industry. Literally, I have nothing to say about this.
Yeah. Moving. I feel like we never have reads on some of these totals, but it's just when it's in this number, I have no interest.
Some of it is because of the way that we frame the show. We're always starting with the spreads normally.
Yeah.
Like we're focused on the spreads because there are in the bet tracker, there are unders and some overs that I'm betting. By the way, it's worth saying my record on totals is much better this season than my record on spreads. Maybe we should have just been focusing on totals the entire season. But yeah, there are some totals. You can check them out in the FTN bets tracker. This total, however, is not one of them.
I got hosed on a soccer bet total yesterday. I took a game under 3 goals because there was about a half foot of snow on the ground. And I was like, oh, perfect. No one's scoring in that. They postponed the game to today. And I was like, oh, I'll get my money back. Nope, because it's within 24 hours. The bet is still alive. And I'm like, well, that's not great.
Oh, that's trash.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that is trash.
Is what it is. Now we ride under 3 in the final Champions League group stage game. All right, props. Justin Jefferson. We said that it was probably going to be a running game, but you're going over on his 90.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I'm potentially being a little bit of a donkey here, but I don't care. I am betting over 90.5 receiving yards for Justin Jefferson at FanDuel minus 113 odds. We are going to have to see Kirk Cousins pass at some point in this game. Right, it's not going to be a total handoff festival, but Adam Thielen is out. So Jefferson is going to get a world of target volume coming his direction because he really is the only pass catching option or the only, quote unquote, like real pass catching option on his team. And last year in week 12 without Thielen, he had 13 targets. Last week after Thielen left, with just 6 snaps played in that game, Jefferson had 14 targets. And the Steelers are without number 1 cornerback, Joe Hayden. So even if Jefferson doesn't get double-digit target volume, which I think there's a pretty good chance he does, but even if he doesn't, he's going against a team missing its number 1 cornerback. So even on, let's say, 7 or 8 targets, he could have some great efficiency and still hit the over here. So I think there are multiple ways that he gets there, whether it's through efficiency, with the superior matchup, or if it's just a whole bunch of target volume coming his direction, which I think that's likely because who else are they going to throw to on that team? Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the league at this point, one of the best receivers in the first 2 years of his career in NFL history. I don't see why he doesn't get 10 targets in this game.
I think that is a very fair assessment. I might have to follow you on that.
Well, please don't. I don't want you bringing that mush all over me.
Have I become a football mush too now? I don't think so.
No, I doubt it. What other kind of mush?
Oh, my soccer picks are horrible right now. I'm trending so bad.
Good thing that I'm not paying attention and not betting soccer.
Yeah, I do not recommend it.
Okay.
We'll get right. But for now, let's get right with some more NFL games because we've got your 3 favorite of the night, starting off with one that's also one of my favorite for this Sunday, Cowboys at football team, and you going with the Cowboys -4. This just makes sense. Football team is not quite as good, I feel like, as they've been playing.
Yeah, since the bye, they've gone on their 4-0 streak, and good for them. They've made the division interesting, and the Cowboys have had some losses, so they've opened the door for a football team, to take the division once again. But for me, this game comes down to the pass offense for the Cowboys and the pass defense for the football team. In only 2 games this year have the Cowboys had all 3 of their wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and left tackle Tyron Smith. And aside from obviously quarterback Dak Prescott, those are the 4 players who are most important in the passing attack. And in those two games, the Cowboys have scored 29 points and 27 points against the Buccaneers and the Saints, who have two of the best defenses in the league. The Cowboys will have all four players in this game. And obviously that's not good for the football team. And in drop back expected points added, so EPA per play, the Cowboys offense is number 9. And the football team defense is number 29. So this is a great matchup for the Cowboys of offense versus defense. The football team has had one of the most disappointing defenses to this point in the season, even though they played better of late. In the aggregate, still incredibly disappointing. And obviously no Chase Young, who's out for the year with an injury. The Cowboys are on the road, but they have 3 extra days off of Thursday Night Football last week to prepare for this game. And the big one for me, Dak Prescott is 19-8 against the spread for his career against divisional rivals. This guy dominates the NFC East whenever he is playing any of these teams. I expect that domination to continue this weekend, so I'm going Cowboys -4.
And how about the total? It hangs right now at 48, which means it's been bet down slightly from 49, but still clearly Vegas expecting a lot of points here.
I would lean toward the over, but I haven't bet it. You know, we talked about Kellen Moore and, you know, sort of the juice that he adds to this offense and how historically that has pushed totals to the over. 26-18 with Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator, 20-12 when Moore has had Dak Prescott as his starter. And then in the post Jason Garrett era with Dak Prescott, 10-6 to the over. But I'm skeptical about Washington. I'm skeptical that they will put up the points they need to make this total go to the over. So I'm just staying away.
I'm with you on that. It feels just a little bit too high. I don't want to bet the under because of what Dallas can do, but I don't know. I mean, looking at last week with the Raiders, that offense has been stuck in the mud, but the football team defense did play well.
Yeah. I just don't want to touch it.
Yeah. Bills at Buccaneers is your second game on the board, and you were taking the Bills +3.5 coming off the loss in the greatest game ever played to the Patriots there. Something tells me Tom Brady is going over 3 pass attempts in this game. Something tells me.
Tom, if you had to set an over-under for the number of plays that the Buccaneers run before Tom Brady passes 3.5 pass attempts. So would we say that number is 5? Is it 6? I don't think it can be 4.
I think it's 5.5.
Yeah. You think you'd set that at 5.5?
I might juice it to I might juice it to the over simply because of the fact that Leonard Fournette has been really getting hot and becoming more of a focal point in that offense. I could see them going 3-3 to start the game. But it's going to be a balanced attack. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
significantly fewer plays than the number of 40 last game.
Yeah. So we will see. I mean, the Buccaneers, the number one team in our official FTN power rankings, but the Bills are not that far behind them. The Bills have been inconsistent this year, especially since the week 7 bye, in which they have a 3-3 record since then. But I really do think they are evenly matched with the Buccaneers. The Bills' offense is number 7 in EPA per play. The Bucs' defense is number 8. So we have a pretty even match there. The Bucs' offense is number 1 in EPA, but the Bills' defense is number 1. So again, I think a pretty even matcher. The Bills played the Patriots to a tight and randomness-filled 14-10 loss on Monday Night Football. If they had won that game, I think this line might be 2.5. And I think that's probably where it should be. And if I can bet it on the other side of 3, so getting it now at 3.5, I will do that. And I like that I am getting Bills quarterback Josh Allen in his personal smash spot. On the road, he's 17-7-2 against the spread. As an underdog, 15-6-2 against the spread. And as a road underdog, when we get both of those circles aligning, He is a glorious 9-2-2 against the spread. Just for his entire career, Josh Allen has been undervalued by the betting market when the edges are against him. I think that's the case here. I think this is probably a field goal game. And so getting the Bills at plus 3.5 is something that I think there's value in.
I feel like we really do have to toss out that Patriots game just because of how weird it was and the fact that the Bills don't like to run the football this year, which is abnormal for them.
Yeah.
This could be a Super Bowl matchup here.
It really could. And the fact that they're not a running team, like that means that they will be operating within the normal constraints of their offense in general within this matchup, because what the Buccaneers do best on defense is stop the run. And it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
What does that matter for the Bills? That's not going to impact them anyway.
Yeah. Devin Singletary's getting 10 carries, and that's about the extent of the rushing game for this team.
Yeah. So, it's the Bills operating in a normal capacity. They haven't been as good this year as they were last year, but the Bucs defense also isn't as good this year as it was last year. So I think it evens out.
How about the total in this one? What's it hanging at right now? It's 53.5. So clearly expecting more offensive firepower.
Yeah. I mean, that is a high total. I'm looking at our odds page now, and that is definitely the highest total on the slate, especially now that we are in the winter months, the weather driving totals down. But that is such a high number. I can't bet that. The Bucs are 29-19 to the over with head coach Bruce Arians, but their defense is getting healthier this year. The Bills have a stingy defense. I do like the Bills to cover, and one way that happens is if this is a low-scoring game. So I don't want to bet on the over, especially with it being so high. So I'm just staying away.
Yeah, it's a tough total. This game is in Tampa, right? I'm looking at that.
It's in Tampa.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So weather going to be a factor.
I would be
Possible
tempted to bet the under, to be honest, if I had to take a side here, but I'm just staying away because, who wants to be the idiot who bets the under on a game with Tom Brady and Josh Allen?
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, even if you have just one cool quarter and all of a sudden you're on pace for an easy under. It's still, are you going to get to that under?
Yeah, you will be sweating that under the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want that.
One of my least favorite betting cliches maybe, or betting justifications is the people who say, I like betting unders because you start off a winner.
No, that's stupid.
Yeah. To me, that is the dumbest thing. Because
if you have that mindset, you are actually starting out a loser.
Yes. It blows my mind. And it's some smart people who say it. They're just like, this is why I like doing this. And I'm just like, no, it doesn't matter how you start off. Teams are, to me, both teams are trying to score points.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm sitting here rooting for defense in an offensive league. That scares me.
Yeah, exactly. You are going into the teeth of what the offense is trying to do. So, what the teams are trying to do. So it's not a good situation.
Exactly. I prefer overs. There are some games where I just look at it and I go, this is an under game, but for the most part in football, I like overs.
It's interesting. I prefer unders in general because I just, from the sports psychology side of it, I do think that overs tend to be juiced just a little bit more because books know that people want to root for points. And I don't know, like maybe it's just sort of like my mindset. Like maybe I'm more like of a skeptical person. So like I see the way that things like could unfold where it doesn't work out for points. But normally when I'm betting on totals, it tends to be unders.
Mm-hmm. In hockey, first period unders I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a fun bet, but I like game total overs because especially in hockey, you have that unique circumstance where if the game is close at the end and you're sitting on if the total's 5.5 and it's 3-2, a team's pulling the goalie and you have a chance there.
Yeah. Yep. Good call. We should do some research on stuff like that to maybe get some sense on how often that actually happens.
I will make some phone calls.
Yeah.
All right. We now, though, have one final game to get to on your three favorites here. Bears at Packers, the NFL's oldest rivalry. You've got the Packers laying double digits, minus 11.5 points in this spot. I'm pretty sure it's still Andy Dalton. No, there's possibility Justin Fields plays.
I think it's Justin Fields. I don't care. This is such a Freedman bet. This is the bet that I like the most this year. Like in terms of, like, it's not that I don't care if this bet wins or loses, but just in terms of like the joy that placing this bet gave me is worth the money. Like, I can't describe to you how happy this bet makes me. I'm not a Packers fan, and it's not as if I dislike the Bears all that much, but betting on the Packers against the Bears in this spot fills me with childlike glee. All right. And as a general rule, I will bet on the Packers, Aaron Rodgers in particular, in two spots, when he's at home and when he's in division. And so we get both of those overlapping here, right? He's a creature of comfort. He likes the familiar at Lambeau Field, 67-34-4 against the spread for his career. Against the NFC North, he's 48-28 against the spread for his career. At home within division, 24-12 against the spread. On top of that, there's some of the particulars. The Packers coming off the bye. Rodgers for his career is 11-5-1 against the spread off of the bye. 5-0 against the spread off the bye when he's playing an NFC North team. And let's not forget, he owns the Bears. He owns them. He's owned them his entire life. He still owns them. The Bears have been the most profitable team for Rodgers backers to fade. He's 20-7 against the Bears for his career. This is not a rivalry. Okay. This is a massacre. And against Bears head coach Matt Nagy, Rodgers is 5-0 against the spread. He owns them. Okay. And Matt Nagy, following the false promise, very much a false promise of his first season in Chicago, Nagy is 15-29-1 against the spread. Okay. You do not need to twist my arm to get me to bet against Matt Nagy in general. And especially if I can have Aaron Rodgers at home on the other side of that bet, I will easily do it. Rodgers, even when we count week one, right? The non-predictive travesty that was week one for the Packers, even if we include that in the sample, Rodgers is number 2 in the league in composite EPA and completion percentage over expectation. If we exclude week one, he's easily the number 1 passer in the league by that metric. He is throwing the ball as well as anyone in the league is right now. Plus, the Packers are league best 10-2 against the spread. I'm incredibly happy. Packers minus 11.5. This is such a square bet, and I do not care because this bet is cashing.
I gotta say, I'm pretty with you on it. I mean, Rodgers does love this spot. Justin Fields back from injury is not a savior for this team by any means. My biggest question is, if this is a blowout, is Matt Nagy done? Or do they let him ride out the season at this point?
That's a great question. Yes. That's a hard one. Because maybe they don't want to like disrupt the development of Justin Fields, but
it's all disruption at this point.
I know. I mean, if it's a massive blowout, I could see him getting fired.
I personally don't believe in switching coaches midseason. I think that this isn't one of those sports with a longer season where you can fire your coach and then make that playoff run. That just doesn't happen in football.
Right. It can happen in baseball. It can happen in hockey, basketball. Football is much harder.
Yeah. That's a very, very different tune because you have so few games. You have so few games to get right. And the other factor there is, if I have a terrible coach, I feel a lot better about him coaching me to a high draft pick than anyone that could possibly replace him. Like, let's lose that locker room. Let's make sure that there is no effort coming out, because you hear it from any former player when the subject of a team actively tanking pops up. Players don't tank. Front offices might tank, but no player goes out and goes, it's in our best interest to lose this football game.
Yeah.
And some coaches might. We saw the most egregious example of that last season with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That was still the most blatant tank job I've ever seen.
Well, they had to evaluate whatever the hell his name was.
Was it Nate Sudfeld?
Yes, I think it was Nate Sudfeld. To see if he's the backup of the future.
Is
That's
he on
important. No. But of course, Peterson is no longer the guy doing the evaluating. He's no longer on the team either.
Also very true.
Yeah.
Although, shout out to Doug Peterson because he did give us one of the greatest just desserts karma moments that I have ever seen. He got hired, and my friend who's a Patriots fan just instantly started blasting our Eagles fan friend about the hire. And then he played the long game 2 years later. The Super Bowl win comes in. And oh man, he just let him have it. He had all the receipts saved, every single text. And he was just like, remember this? Remember what happened here?
That's why I don't say anything to anybody other than the show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're supposed to make some predictions here.
Yeah.
If we're wrong, we're wrong.
Yeah.
I do have one game I really like, and I'm going in the same exact vein as you with the Packers pick.
Okay.
It is, and I'm actually getting some value at this point because it is Kansas City versus Las Vegas. It opened KC -10, and it's now sitting. You can still get 10, but 9.5s are available around town, and this is going to be another blowout. They blew the Raiders out in Vegas. Now they go to Arrowhead. The Raiders do not look nearly as good as they looked going into that game against the Chiefs the first time. I think that this is a get-right spot for Mahomes. He tossed, 5 touchdowns and 400 yards passing the last time they played. This defense has been a little more sluggish. This offense has been just stuck in the mud. I think that they cover this 10 pretty easily.
Yeah, I could see it. This is the smash spot for Travis Kelce. He always goes off against the Raiders. Regardless of what happens from the betting perspective, this is the DFS perspective. You must start Travis Kelce. This was like Kobe Bryant in his last game, and he's going to be taking a lot of shots. You automatically start Travis Kelce this week.
Now tell me, is this a smash spot? Travis Kelce, he always shows up in this game like James Harden showing up against the Houston Rockets last night.
Wow. Timothy, how dare you do that to me?
I couldn't resist. The Rockets are the best team. The Rockets are the best team in the NBA, a league leading 7 straight wins. They may never lose another game. They're going 66-16 and winning the title.
Good for them. That would be amazing if that happens.
That would be just the most phenomenal thing.
I do like the story of teams turning it around much faster than everyone thinks will happen.
Yeah. One of the best stories I can think of is the St. Louis Blues 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Your last team in the league, fire your coach, 150-1 to win the Stanley Cup. And a couple people came in, and to a couple books I know, and they bet it, and they won very big.
Yeah, there's that one that also kind of in that vein comes to mind is the Florida Marlins when they won the World Series with Pudge Rodriguez, his 1 year. And this is going way back to 2003. Tom, I don't know, were you even born yet in 2003?
Just barely.
Yeah, that was a really good one because they fired their coach. They had, kind of destroyed their roster from previous seasons, rebuilt it, and then randomly somehow won a championship. So that was a cool turnaround. Because after they fired their coach, everyone thought they were dead. So yeah, that's one that always stands out to me.
I loved the narrative of the San Francisco Giants last season. Because they opened it 100-1 to win the World Series. And then they were the fastest team to 50, fastest team to 100. And everyone just kept waiting. They were like, well, the regression's going to come soon. They're not actually this good. They're going to fall off. And then they just didn't. And they took it all the way up to that playoff series against the Dodgers. And it's not like they fell apart there. The Dodgers just beat them. But there was a glorious moment where every sports book in town was sweating, taking a bloodbath on the Giants winning the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, I personally hate the Giants because they beat the Rangers in the World Series years ago, and I can never forgive them for that. But yeah, it would have been cool for them.
They are the team I most loosely support. Like of any sports team that I say, like, yeah, sure, if I had to pick a favorite, they're my favorite just because of the whole growing up in the Bay Area. I detest baseball, but all my friends are Giants fans, so I want them to do well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much to say to that, Tom. I'm just going to ignore the fact that you told me you sort of like the Giants. Now we're going to move on. I'm going to delete that from my memory.
All right. Matt, where can people find all the great work you're putting out each and every day?
You can find the content at FTN. Of course, on Friday, I published the fantasy football breakdown. Maybe I will get that out later tonight, although probably won't be published by the time the editors get around to it, it'll be Friday morning. But that comes out on Friday. On Thursday, the best bets article. On Tuesday, the fantasy rankings, which I update on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I will be updating those later today. And then all throughout the week in the FTN bet tracker, I am putting in my NFL sides, totals, and player props. And on Twitter, YouTube, your favorite podcast app, and on FTN, you can get daily episodes of the Freedman Fantasy Football Show and the Degenerate Sports Betting Show. And always use the highly original promo code Freedman for 20% off at FTN. All right, that is the show. You can find me and Tommy V on Twitter at Matt F. The Oracle and TV at Work. Thanks for joining us, and see you next episode.